Hey, guess what? If the mic's muted and we're at half a screen, we have a bad producer. Welcome in, everybody, to the most screwed up hockey show on earth, where Sam is in a French beret. I will be in an American one. No, wait, I'll go the other way. Sam, this is going to be a long night. We're in trouble.
We're in big trouble.
We're in trouble.
Big trouble. Can I change now? This is actually making my head really itchy.
I'll tell you what. Let's both change. I'll change here. Let me borrow the beret.
Here.
You know, that would be great if we could actually do that and put it on. Anyway, let's say hi to everybody. Streamlabs, welcome in. Stream Elements, welcome in. Brian Wasco, Pico Trains in the house. Sam Eagle is here. Monorail Steve, welcome in. Explorer Jen, Dallas Hockey Girl. Chris Hoffman, how are you? Welcome in. Yeah, we had no audio because I don't know what I'm doing. Not My Circus, welcome in. And let's see, who else do we have in here tonight? I can only go back so far. Bucks, welcome in. Morgan, welcome in. I knew I saw you before. Let's see. Road Warrior, what's up? Space Mountain Dave, welcome in. Blair, Coaster Mom, I think I got everybody covered. If we don't, we'll catch you on as we get caught up and in, because obviously I'm losing my mind. Sam.
Hey, that's me.
How are you? You're the natural. I'm the BearShark. We're here tonight having coffee.
Nothing beats a natural BearShark in its own element.
You know, it's funny you should say that, because that's what he says.
I'm amazing. This has been like the most incredible 2 weeks between the draft and free agency and everything that's going on. We have so much to talk about. And yes, Dallas has got it. 88 days till we go back to the future. Just kidding. The future is coming in 88 days. The NHL season's going to start. I can't wait. But before we even get into any of that, and hopefully the timing has worked, BearShark, I have a surprise for you.
What?
So if the surprise can hear, it's time to take action.
Hold on. We have a doorbell that rang.
We have a trade.
Doorbell. We have a trade. Hold on. I got to figure out how to assign them. What's up there? Hold on. I got to figure out how to put you in here. Let's see. We need another camera. Let's see. There's a camera right here. Let's make that one come up. Let's get rid of the TV.
Yeah, let's put them right on there.
Let's see. We got to get rid of the screen share, and let's get rid of Sam, because Sam's on screen. Let's get rid of that.
This is what happens when one host doesn't tell the other host the surprise.
That's exactly right. It's like, well, thank you. Nope. Did I just bounce Bernie? No, there he is.
There he is.
Let's get Bernie down to size.
You bounced me. Never.
Let's see. Circle gets a square. There we go.
There it is.
Whoop. Bernie. Hey, he's got an NHL on his head. Let's move that too.
What is up?
What's happening? Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Uh-oh.
Be on the shark. Goodbye.
Hey, that actually sounded like my old 2XL. Put in the XL tape, it would say boop, boop, beep, boop, 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 boop. We are not up to speed with Bernie. He's actually ahead of us in the future. There he is. Before we get going, everybody, I'd like to say Adventures of Mike and Steph just came in. Adventures of Mike and Steph just came in. They won our 3,000 subscriber giveaway yesterday. Let's give it up for Mike and Steph. They're going on a cruise, airfare, hotel. Congratulations, guys. Super proud of you guys for winning. Nobody deserves it more than you do. Bernie's just making all kinds of faces. I love it. So, but yeah, welcome in Ian. Welcome in Greatest Kid. Welcome in everybody. So welcome in Bernie. Glad to have you in. Our statistician.
Bernie was able to join us the other day, kind of towards the end of our free agency draft. And we thought the only way we can recap all of this is to bring in the master.
Yeah, absolutely. With so much going on, the good news is he keeps me in check because I screw up so much. So it's always a pleasure to have Bernie, so that this way we know what.
You said the master. I'm looking for Yoda.
Well, he's over my shoulder. You look for Yoda, you say?
Okay. Yes.
So yeah, but it's been an incredible 2 weeks in hockey. This week has been nuts with free agency kicking off on Wednesday. And literally we hit the ground running. I thought of Bernie on Wednesday when I woke up and it says, the Capitals don't have a goaltender. And I went, well, I guess they're signing Kempfer, and they already knew it before they did anything. And lo and behold, 2 hours later, Darcy Kemper was your goaltender. So congrats.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Edmonton beat us to the punch by going to 12 3 minutes into the free agency because they desperately needed even more so than the Capitals did.
All right, Sam, he's speaking Canadian. You're going to have to translate for me.
Yeah, so what he's saying is Edmonton beat him to the punch by signing Jack Campbell like 3 minutes into free agency.
See, you got that. I think kudos to Sam for translating. Hooray. So, but yeah, there were tons of things that went on like that where immediately free agency opened, things went nuts. And it's funny because what did they say? Well, you're not allowed to have negotiations before free agency. Right. Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
The amazing thing was watching how many people signed, how quickly the terms were already agreed upon. It was like, okay. So it was an amazing Wednesday.
Well, I mean, I like that they didn't have the courting period like they had the last couple of years. It makes 12 o'clock that much more exciting, where you just don't know what's going to happen. I know they're talking under the table, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more. But to have 12 o'clock and you're not already knowing 50 signings before noon makes that day more exciting. The only thing that's been more exciting is if ESPN had it on their regular channels or TNT had it on their channel instead of us watching ESPN Plus. Thank God for the NHL Network.
It's funny you should say that because had Sam scheduled his vacation appropriately, we would have been able to get not only the draft done, but we would have been able to get Wednesday where we could have went live. But, Sam, it's that responsibility thing, has to do with work. I was going to go live, but I was like, I would have to put up a picture of Sam and just talk to him. Obi-Wan is here. Wait, hold on a second. We have Obi-Wan in the house. If this was my other setup, I would actually have Obi-Wan here and he would say, "Oh wait, I do. Do I have him? Hold on a second. Do I have hello there here? No, I don't. I feel bad. I should have my Obi-Wan who goes, hello there." So anyway, hello there, Obi-Wan. Welcome in. Yeah, it's been crazy. There was even some signings right before we came on that I was trying to catch up on literally as we were, like about 3 hours before we came on, which we'll get to in just a few minutes. But what do you think of having Kempfer and no backup goalie? Or do you have a backup goalie yet?
Actually, we signed Charlie Lindgren an hour later to a 3-year, $3.3 million deal. And that was a really nice under the radar kind of signing. I mean, he had a 960 save percentage with St. Louis when Husso and Binnington were both out, and backing up Carey Price coming right out of college at St. Cloud State. I was a little off because you usually cringe when you see a $3.3 million 3-year deal to a backup goalie, but then you realize who it is, and it made it a lot easier. Plus, you look between him and Kemper at $6.3 million. You're paying 2 goaltenders, and you still have Zach Fucali and Hunter Shepard, who I'm really high on from Minnesota Duluth, still in the system.
It's funny that you say that because we obviously have Lindgren's brother, and there was a lot of links to the Rangers, and I figured we were going to grab him as our backup. And all of a sudden, we come out of the box, and I'm like, what are we doing? Why aren't we going to get him? And then when I saw what you guys signed him for, I'm like, and that's why we didn't go get him. We got rid of Georgiev, who went over, is going to be the starter for the Avalanche. We didn't want to pay him $2.5 million. So, when you have Igor Shesterkin, Vezina Trophy winner sitting there, you need someone that's capable, but you don't need somebody who's, in theory, we're hoping we don't have a major injury. We don't have anything where they got to carry the team. So we've got 2 decent backups, and I'm wondering which one of them is actually going to make it coming out of camp. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, what I have to say, I think
Bernie. Well, you have Halak at $1.55 million.
Well, Halak is a good goaltender, and then we signed. I was trying to pull it up because you're going to laugh, but I have this on 3 different screens right now, and I was trying to pull up who the third goaltender. Oh, it was Louis Domingue.
Spicy pork and broccoli.
Spicy pork. We brought him in, and he's going to play in our our AHL team because it's a 2-way contract. So we're going to have him as a third with what do we have? Adam Huska is our fourth. So we got and don't get me wrong, we have a very, very strong farm team when it comes to goaltending. So we're very deep in it. We're going to be bringing them along for years to come. And as long as Benoit Allaire stays a Ranger, we're okay. So I'm interested to see how that's gonna play out. And then Sam, you picked up a new goaltender because you decided to ship one out of town.
Yeah, we've made a few moves, but I have to say before I get to the Leafs, I think Bernie is secretly working as an assistant GM for the Caps because he called on Wednesday. He's like, they're not done. You could see Dylan Strome signing at some point tomorrow. And then, lo and behold, magically, here's Dylan Strome signing the contract.
Yeah, Caps made a lot of really great moves. I was really impressed to see how they maneuvered through free agency. The team that I laugh at right now, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, I'm laughing at 2 teams right now, one of which is the Pens. It's like watching, I don't know, I guess the best way is watching the Rolling Stones still doing it at 80. And it's like at some point, you have to bring in some youth, and they spent a lot of money, and I mean a lot of money to make this team 40 years old and the same people still playing. And I'm not saying that they're not capable, and I'm not saying that they're not a good team, but I have some serious issues with it.
Well, today they addressed their defense and revamped it completely by making 2 trades, one with the Devils and one with Montreal. And now
I saw that
their defense isn't half bad. You got Letang, Petrie, and Jan Ruta, who they signed from Tampa Bay on the right side, and Ty Smith. Everyone's like, oh, John Marino got traded? Well, they got a guy just as good as Marino, 2 years younger, and was all rookie with the Devils in his first season until the wheels came off in year 2.
I'm just kind of laughing at what they paid for, Letang and for Malkin and, with Crosby's contract. And I just sit there and I'm like, I understand that they're good. All right. I'm not taking anything away from them. It's just, I don't know that I'm going into my late 30s paying someone $7 million. I kind of just have issues with that. I had issues when the Rangers did it. The Rangers for a couple of years, I'm sure you remember in the glory years of the late 90s, they went out. If you were 45 years old and you could still skate, they were paying you $10 million. They didn't care. And it was like, what are you doing? Like at some point you got to stop and you got to revamp the team. And I think that the Penguins I think they're focused on the fact they've gone 16 years to the playoffs, 17 years to the playoffs, and that they want their moment in the sun still. It's not about making it to the playoffs. It's hoisting the cup.
Yeah. I was shocked that they signed Malkin. I thought he was for sure going to hit the market, and that kind of came out last minute right before, the markets opened up. So that one really, really did surprise me. But yeah, Pittsburgh, did they get better a little bit? But you're right. They have the old factor, the seasoned veteran factor that I don't think it's going to propel them because, they always end up against Washington or New York, and I don't think they could beat either of those teams.
Well, they didn't beat us this year, and the simple truth is Bernie's team, they stepped it up a notch. They're playing their veteran with the youth. They brought in a lot of good additions. The Rangers made some really bonehead moves. You had Reinstrom and Vetrano both go over to the Anaheim Ducks, which huge pickup for Anaheim, by the way. We lost Kopp to Detroit. We brought in, now don't get me wrong, we brought in Trocheck, which is a huge pickup. He wanted to play with Panarin. That's going to be an amazing line to watch. Do I feel like we're a better team today than when we went into the playoffs? No, not even close. We're going to be depending upon a lot of kids coming out of camp. They've already said that there's 2 or 3 kids that they're almost guaranteeing. And the person that I hate most on the Rangers is going to play for the Rangers right now. And that's why can't I think of the kid's name? Who's a little whiny kid who hid in Russia this year?
Kravtsov.
Thank you. I kept calling him. I wanted to say Vitali, and it's Vitali Kravtsov. I want that kid to go get shot out of a potato cannon, but he could come into camp, prove me wrong, be a team player. But 2 years in a row, he has whined and sat out. So I'm not impressed with a kid who does that. He doesn't seem like a team player to me, and we don't need poison in the locker room. We need presence of leadership, and we need a captain this year. Does anybody disagree the Rangers should have a captain this year?
Yeah, it should be either Ryan Lindgren or Chris Kreider.
Thank you. I happen to agree with either one of those picks. Ryan Lindgren, that's why every year when every game I started the Rangers video, he's bleeding. The kid bleeds in every game. Like, there's not a game he doesn't get stitches. So I think.
Or take a shot at 100 mile an hour through his kneecap and comes back next shift like, I'm good. No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm good. No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm good. No, I'm not.
Couldn't agree with you more. Either one of them would be an amazing pickup for me. And to be honest with you, the other side of it is I got no problem with Trocheck. He just signed a 7-year deal. Panarin, I don't think is a leader in the house. As a matter of fact, I have not been really impressed with him. So I don't know, but I think the Rangers deserve a captain. We haven't had one since McDonough.
Yeah, and I'm a huge Trocheck fan. I was so happy with that signing. He's somebody that in Florida, I was a huge fan when he kind of left Florida. I was a little disappointed. But now coming over to the Rangers, now I know I'm going to see more Ranger games this season for some reason. Really happy to get to watch him play. But you asked me about Toronto a few minutes ago, and Toronto's been on such an interesting wave. We were kind of laughing pretty hysterically that they were managed to dump Mrazek to Chicago with his full salary in the draft. And then all of a sudden it gets announced, here's Matt Murray. Matt Murray's coming in, worst kept secret. And social media up here has been going bonkers. People are not happy with Matt Murray coming in. You look at his seasons in Ottawa, and they weren't great, full of injury. Ottawa wasn't a great team. Everyone's saying they got him because he did win 2 Stanley Cups when Crosby and Malkin and those guys were, really rocking it several years ago. But there's still a lot of upside to Matt Murray, and I don't hate that move. The price was right. He has a lot of potential, especially when you put him with the new Leafs goalie coach, who's said to make miracles happen. He could be the guy to really turn kind of Matt Murray around. And then jumping right into free agency, like backing him up with Samsonov, nice little pickup. When you put the 2 salaries together, it's probably, they would have had to pay, Campbell and then a backup still, and it would have. So this combination is a right price, and Samsonov can play. So if Murray's having a down period, Samsonov can step in. So I think their goaltending tandem, they put together nicely. I kind of called Toronto losers during free agency because picking up guys like Adam Gaudette, he's bounced around. He's not going to help. He's a depth player. You pick up Dennis Mulligan. Here's a guy that couldn't cut it in Toronto, left to go play in Europe, happens to have 2 good seasons. So they say, sure, we'll welcome you back with open arms. Give him another try. I like the Kubel pickup. He was great for Colorado in the playoff runs, but again, another depth player. So I kind of said, yeah, I don't like what Toronto did. Then Thursday happened. All of a sudden, they come up with Victor Mete and Jordy Ben, 2 key defensemen that I think, they're not superstars, right? We're paying them a little more than the league minimum. But they're going to have a good impact. And I think both Jordy Ben and Victor Mete are going to make a difference on the blue line. And then Friday they had Kalle Jänkrock. And I'm like, I love this kid when he was in Nashville, and I thought he was going to have great opportunity in Seattle. And I know he kind of worked his way over to Calgary and now Toronto. But here's, again, a kid with a lot of upside. So at the end of the day, I think Toronto, they're not as big of a loser as I initially said they were on Wednesday.
So let me just do this real quick. Let me say hey to Dean, who came in, and a couple other things I wanted to address in the chat. Blair was saying that he thought I would hate most of the moves that came through. Yeah, for the most part. But I mean, like Carpenter, I think is going to compete. I don't know if he'll start. I have no idea what's going to happen with him. But I want to play a little game with you guys. Charlie, welcome in. And I saw someone else sneak in that we didn't say hello to. Hold on one second. Let me find out where they went to. It was Camille. So welcome in, everybody. And by the way, if you're joining us, you're going to notice we're streaming on 2 different channels. We're here on the FPE network, and we're also over on Sam Well B12 Experience. That's because we're partner channels, and we want to make sure that we hit both of our audiences so that you guys can experience both of us. If you're watching on my channel, please go over to Sam, give him a like, hit the subscribe button. If you're over on Sam's, come on over, hit the like and subscribe over here as well. We work in tandem together, and you'll be watching this for a long time to come. But I want to do a little something with you guys because we each got to talk about our teams for a second. But there were some really big moves. Like, I don't know. Let's start off with the big one. Giroux. Claude Giroux is now an Ottawa Senator with Cam Talbot. What do you think, Bernie? Let's start with Bernie since he's our guest tonight. What do you think of Giroux going to Ottawa? 3-year deal. I think it's good money. What do you think happens to Ottawa with that trade or with that move, free agency?
Well, Ottawa brought back the hometown boy at a really good rate, just a shade over $6 million. Real quick on Carpenter, he's your Kevin Rooney replacement on the 4th line. He'll definitely give you some spark.
He's good. I'm not unhappy with him. I'm not saying I'm unhappy with him. I'm pretty happy with that pickup, but you know, we'll see how it goes. I think he's a better player than Kevin Rooney. But go ahead.
Yeah, with Ottawa, you got Giroux. You also get Cam Talbot on a flip of goaltenders, and then you trade Connor Brown to the Capitals, who I look at as another TJ Oshie, which makes the Caps even more of a handful to deal with on the right side. You have Connor Brown, Oshie, and Wilson when he comes back as your 3 right wings. Heaven help the Metropolitan Division. But they take that 2nd round pick, and there have been rumored to either sign John Klingberg to a 1-year deal or trade that 2nd round pick to Florida in a package to get Mackenzie Weegar, who's trying to get a contract with Florida or get dealt so they can get Huberdeau signed now that they can sign him to an 8-year extension. Ottawa's loaded with great prospects after their win in Binghamton a couple years ago in the Calder Cup, and now with the new arena deal. There is a buzz in Ottawa, and everyone sees the Bruins bleeding in the Atlantic right now. They see Toronto with uncertainty in goal. They're jumping. Ottawa jumping. Detroit jumped like a beast.
Big time.
And Montreal even jumped like a beast. And Ottawa brings in DeBrincat, Giroux to add to Batherson, to Norris, to Brady Tkachuk. That top 6 is as lethal as anybody in the Atlantic Division right now.
So you would agree with me that Montreal made a lot of because we were kind of making fun of them until the draft. And then the draft, it was like they decided to get on steroids and pump it up a little bit. But Ottawa, they jumped in here during free agency and said, well, wait a second, we're not done yet. Because you're 100% right. The Bruins right now, I'm sorry, I think a couple AHL teams are going to be able to beat them. So this is going to be interesting to watch. Sam, what did you think about it? Do you agree with what Bernie just said and what we're talking about? And if not, what's your opinion?
I do. I mean, I was mad Giroux didn't stay in Florida. I knew he was going to go to Ottawa. Well, I didn't know. Once they said it and talked about him being the hometown boy, it made sense. So you're like, of course he's going to go to Ottawa. So that's huge. And again, they just locked up Josh Norris for an 8-year extension, $7.95 million. Like, they really solidified their team. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with. You know, Ottawa, Buffalo as well. Huge moves. They've come out of this looking really good. So I think, Montreal, they're improved, but they're still kind of going to be towards the bottom there, mid to bottom. Toronto's going to be, talk about that uncertainty. It's there. Ottawa definitely is going to jump way, way ahead.
Well, look, any good hockey fan who knows there's some uncertainty on their team always goes, let me hold my breath. I don't want to brag because if we get killed, I don't want to be on camera saying that. But you guys have a good team. It's your uncertainty in net that I think everybody's looking at. Other than that, as you said, Buffalo has made some news, and there's some huge rumors as to what they still may do. We still have yet to see what Buffalo does. Anybody now, I'm going to kind of skip around the league a little bit, and you guys kind of give me your opinions. Tampa Bay Lightning, better or worse after free agency?
I'd say slightly, probably the same, because they locked up Nick Paul long term. They got those $160 million worth of extensions to Cirelli and Chernak and Sergachev taken care of. They brought back Vladdy Nemestikov, which is a very nice under the radar signing, and they just keep bringing in, and then you bring in Ian Cole for $3 million to be a solid presence. I think they want the guys like Cal Foote to step up even more, because you need those entry-level guys to still produce at a high level. And Tampa Bay, another sneaky little pickup was when Derek Lalonde went to become the head coach up in Detroit, which all three of us were saying one of those two assistants were going to get the Detroit job. Yeah. They went out and got Detroit's ex-head coach, Jeff Blashill, who has a long relationship with John Cooper. So you have that, just Julian Brisebois, and just learned every little morsel from Steve Yzerman, and it puts gasoline on whatever he puts out there, and it turns into roses. And I think you're going to see the same thing with Detroit with what they did in free agency to complement their young studs that are coming up.
Do you think Splat going to the Devils is a loss for Tampa, Sam?
I do. When you watch the playoff run last year, not even last year, the last 3 years, Palat has been such an instrumental part of that organization for a long, long time. And I think that it's too bad he's going to go. It definitely is going to hurt them a little bit. But they're such a good team. They have so much talent that they'll be able to make up for it. And a big part of Palat's success, I think, was with Braden Point being out. He just got to see more ice time and more situational play. So I think they'll be okay. They brought in Hayden Fleury as well, which I like that pickup. So they're super strong on the D-line. They have such talented forwards. For them, it's just going to be, can they play consistent and can they stay healthy?
Well, keep in mind, we're not even talking about the fact they lost McDonough. So McDonough is now a Predator, which, again, there's been so much movement in such a short amount of time that it's like, who do you talk about? But McDonough's now a Predator. Predators are going to do what they're going to do this year. We're obviously going to pay attention to what Trotz does next year. I'm convinced he's going to be in management up there. Just bought a $1.3 million house, says his family is the most important thing to him. There's nobody that's going to convince me otherwise. He's not going to be a part of the organization. Even if it's only as an advisory to the general manager, he's going to be involved in the Predators in some capacity. That's going to make them a better team moving forward. So Johnny,
they re-signed Forsberg, right?
Yeah, Forsberg went for an $8 million or 8-year deal, I think.
Yeah, $8.5 million.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And I bet Nino Niederreiter maybe ends up there eventually too. From he used to be with Carolina, I think he might sign there as a free agency. They have money. They have $9 million in cap space. They're going to make a couple of splashes. Plus, they have what all our teams have: young guys that need to make that next step. Yeah. Philip Tomasino and Ile Tolvanen, both supreme talented first-round picks, and they also have Cody Glass, who used to be Vegas's prize prospect until they traded him and everyone away because, we made the Cup final in year one. We're just going to trade for Mark Stone and Pacioretty and all these guys and make ourselves good. And then, there's a salary cap. What do we do now?
Yeah.
We missed the playoffs because we couldn't get our salary cap straightened out, but we wanted to get the nice shiny toy in Jack Eichel.
Yeah.
Oops.
And then you have Pacioretty who's just moved. So, I mean, you have all
Carolina.
He went, and then what do you have? You have my most hated player on earth, which is hard to say because I hate Brad Marchand, but I absolutely hate Tony DeAngelo. To be honest with you, I don't generally wish injuries on people, but if he went in front of a 95 million mile an hour slap shot that put a hole in his chest, I'd be okay with it. So he goes over to the Flyers. Flyers are revamping. Torts is over there now. It looks like a dirty bird team. They look like they're going to go back to the Flyers of old. What do you guys think of the moves that they've made over there? Will they make a dent in the Metropolitan? And Bernie, what do you think of their position now?
Well, they got so many young guys that got valuable minutes at the end of last year. I think they need Owen Tippett to step up to be a 20-25 goal scorer. I think Morgan Frost has to step up to be a big impact player now. But Torts just has a way of getting more out of less. And I think with the Flyers, I mean, bringing in a Tony DeAngelo to maybe be the guy that can be kind of like Matt Niskanen, not as veteran savvy, but someone that can unleash Ivan Provorov again to be that defenseman that we were all terrified of when Matt Niskanen went from Washington to Philly and was that veteran calming presence. Now, he isn't going to be a calming presence, DeAngelo is, but DeAngelo's offensive game, when he's on his game, is going to take pressure from Provorov to let Provorov just be himself. And that turns that whole thing around. And if you can get a healthy Ryan Ellis on the ice, that team has still talent on the blue line with Ristolainen, with Ellis, and with Ristolainen is a UFA, so he might be gone by the time we're talking here. By the time we sign off tonight, he might be signed somewhere.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, Sammy, it's all about goals. It's all about Carter Hart.
Yeah, no doubt. Sammy, you watched as I did. DeAngelo had a lot of meltdowns during the playoffs. He's an emotional player. Obviously, a good fit for Tortorella. Tortorella loves emotional players because he feels like he can drive them, plus getting them to drop the mitts and get going. He's an agitator, kind of, like a Sean Avery used to be. It's a good pickup for him in that sense, but he has a hard time controlling it. Most of the time, as an agitator, they've got to keep their emotions in check. Marchand learned this year that the league doesn't put up with that. When he sticked a goaltender in the face, he's doing all kinds of stupid crap. I think DeAngelo, if he can hold on to it, he's a good player, but I hate him. But the other side of it is he generally doesn't seem like he can. Do you think it's a good pickup for them, or do you think he's going to get suspended?
Oh, I'm sure he's going to find himself in trouble at some point during the season. But you're like this is the Flyers style. They like these guys, mix it up, the bangers, the grinders. They're trying to keep that, the Philadelphia tradition alive, if you will. I don't think they're really going to be much improved. I think they're going to be playing through. They did pick up one of the young kids that I enjoyed, who's bounced around to almost every team last year, in Adam Brooks.
Yeah.
He's somebody the Leafs had initially, and I really like his style of play, but he just couldn't find the minutes. So he signs a 2-year deal there. I hope he gets some playing time. I'd like to see him develop. So that's the only piece of Philadelphia I'm excited to watch, is the development of Adam Brooks.
So then moving on to, because there's so many things. So I'm looking at my notes and making sure we get to every team, because Johnny just became a Blue Jacket. And that's a huge deal. Like, Calgary just lost a gigantic piece of the puzzle, because we haven't even gotten really to the West Coast. We're all East Coasters who we care about our Atlantic and Metropolitan division, because obviously all three of our teams are in there, and we care about how we're going to be structured inside that Eastern division. I'm going to try, it's not that there's not more to talk about in the East, because there is. I want to just go over that really big signing, though. Johnny's over now. He's a Blue Jacket. Calgary just lost a huge piece of the puzzle. And correct me if I'm wrong, it's a 7-year deal. So, I
7
mean,
years, $9.75 million.
9.75 is no joke. He's now on a huge line. He's got a great team. I think the Blue Jackets are way better than they were before. He had them circled on his list. His words, not mine. He wanted to go there. He wound up there. That whenever a player wants to go to a team, Bernie, Sam, your opinion, but my opinion is, if you want to go somewhere, you're in the game a little bit more.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. And I was shocked. I did not see this one coming.
Good, Bern.
When you don't take north of $10 million from the team that you've been with for 8 years, and the Islanders and Devils both were north of $10 million, and you tell them thanks, but Columbus looks like a nice, quiet town. As long as he gets over his phobia of Cannon, he'll be fine because he'll be making sure that thing goes off plenty of times, especially if Patrick Laine gets signed and he's loading his Cannon power play. No pun intended.
Yeah, and there's a lot of element to that. With now you have the Patrick Kane's not going anywhere. Now you got that, but I would say this to you, because to your point of taking less money, the Islanders offered Panarin more money. A lot of people offered Panarin more money. He came to the Rangers. He wanted to play here. He's not panned out. He's been a good player. He's not been solid, in my opinion. He hasn't shown the leadership. He hasn't done, in my opinion, what Panarin should have done coming from the Blue Jackets. But to your point, yeah, there was a lot more money on the table. This guy's motivated to play in Columbus. So I think that's going to be huge. Moving over to rumors on the West Coast, JT Miller isn't going anywhere yet. They're talking about a deadline move. They think this kid's worth all the money in the world, but I don't understand why they're not pulling the trigger on JT Miller. There were a lot of people, if they had done it on draft day, would have paid something for him. I don't know.
Well, I think the GM and Coach Boudreau both want to re-sign him to a long-term deal. They have to figure out their finances because Pettersson just got signed. Hughes just got signed. They just gave Besser a 3-year deal. They gave him through. It's going to be interesting. And a guy last year, Buffalo, Ranger, number of teams, Avalanche, anywhere. I mean, you add a guy that you're probably going in maybe $2.5 million pension of salary and everything at the deadline for a guy, I don't know, won 3 cups, and arguably with Mike Modano, probably the 2 greatest American-born players ever to lace up the skates.
So, Sammy, thoughts on JT Miller staying potentially in Winnipeg? Thoughts? Vancouver. I keep trying to put him on the freaking Jets, man. I've said that like 15 times this year. I cannot get those 2 teams out of my head. It's Vancouver, David. Damn it.
I think they're probably trying to work out a deal. I think they also, for him, he wants to see how they're going to turn it around this year. They made the coaching move last year. They started to improve. They still have some holes. So I think, both sides are trying to say, can we make something happen here in Vancouver? Are we going to be a better team? If we're a better team and we can get the dollars, I'll sign and stick it out. If we're not going to be a better team, or you're not going to find the dollars for me, then get me out of here. One of the pickups I really like for Vancouver, and I'm biased because of the little blue maple leaf below me. They picked up Ilya Mikheyev, who I had big hopes for him. Vancouver struggled on the penalty kill and with speed. And Mikheyev brings both. He is an unbelievable skater. He's so fast. He's a huge penalty killer. He was tops in the league with shorthanded goals. So I think this is a huge pickup for Vancouver. He's not going to fill all their holes, but he certainly helps down the right path.
Lots of good points over there. And then, again, another big person hanging around. We can't not address him is Kadri. He's been linked to what? There's 32 teams. He's been linked to 42 of them. Everybody and their mother wants a shot at him. It's how do the Rangers get him? I read an article on that yesterday, and I'm like, we don't have any money. You hear him all over the West Coast. Avalanche want to keep him. Best guess, and obviously we'll go to Swami in the middle. Do the Avs keep him? Because I think that they're going to fight to keep him.
Well, you have 2 big pieces that are coming up for agency and Bowen Byram.
Sammy, pick it up. We lost Bernie. I'll get him back.
All right. So yeah, I think Colorado, they're going to fight, and that they have to. They've secured a good base with signing Natushkin for an 8-year deal. They got Helm for another year. They got Manson for another 4. Lehkonen, they just signed for another 5. So they have a nice base there. Kadri, We know exactly how he'd fit in. I think Kadri kind of wants a new challenge now, right? He's going to get paid regardless whether he stays in Colorado or he goes elsewhere. He's going to get paid. So it's where he can see himself fitting in and having that new challenge. Does he feel like maybe he lived a little bit in the shadow of McKinnon and whatnot in Colorado? Does he want to go somewhere and be the superstar? I don't think he is that superstar on his own. So it'll be interesting. I can tell you the one team he will not be going to, and that's that same blue team with the Leafs. So he took the cup, and in an interview, he pretty much said, everyone who said I'm not a playoff help can kiss my badonkadonk.
Well, who do you think he winds up with? If he's not going to wind up, if you don't think he winds up at Avs, who do you think he winds up with?
Oh, jeez.
Because he was looking a little north last I heard.
Yeah, you know what? There's so many teams that have improved, and that without looking at the money, if I was Detroit, or if I was Kadri and said, where can I go that is vastly improved and has a good shot? You look at Detroit, you look at Buffalo, you look at some of these teams, they have a great young core. You could step right in and be that next one to take them to the next level. Or does he play it safe? Does he go somewhere like Florida? They just lost, a bunch of players. Again, I haven't looked at the finances, but those are kind of the three teams that really jump out to me on the east side where he could be that quote-unquote superstar. I know Florida has Barkov and Ekblad, but he could fit right in with them.
Bernie, where do you think he winds up?
Well, I think that he possibly stays with Colorado, maybe even on a one-year deal, and then tries free agency again next year. I'll tell you a dark horse, and we talked about him about 15 minutes ago. How about Nashville Gold and Blue being down there in that town, and you give them another big piece, and like I said, $9 million cap room still. If they can lock them up like 7x7 or something, that team gets exclusively deep. You put Tanner Jeannot with him and just tell them to raise hell on the third line. And then those young kids that we talked about earlier, like Tomasino and Glass and Tolvanen, can ease their way into what they were drafted for, and that is 20 goals, 30 goals, and being impact players of themselves.
That's a good team for him to go to. I mean, and again, Preds are looking to do whatever they can. So I would like to actually see that. In your guys' opinion, and we'll start with Bernie and then hop back over to Sam. Like last year was a month ago. Last year we were kind of talking about how the East Coast was so dominant. They didn't walk away with the cup. So the question I think that is a couple of days into free agency, which division is better? Is it the East Coast or West Coast Conference? Which one's better? Because I said division and I meant conference. So who's better? Is it East or West? And then I have a follow-up after that. But Bernie, what do you think? Is the East more dominant than the West?
Well, I'll say the East, and it's not because of bias. It's going to be war. It's going to be Independence Day type war.
I agree.
I mean, you got aliens coming down all over the place because the bottom teams, the 8 teams that were eliminated by January last year, almost all of them got a lot better.
Agreed.
Ottawa got better. Detroit got better. New Jersey, I will even say, got better because they're solidified their goaltending. And John Marino to help out Dougie Hamilton on the right side for their defense, that's going to be something to see there. And, but the other teams, you got Columbus with Johnny Gaudreau. The only ones that really haven't helped themselves enormously is Philadelphia and the Islanders right now. But everyone else went out, took a dive into the lake and said, hey, this water's feeling kind of fresh this year.
Yeah, other than I would agree with you. I'd throw the Bruins in there too. Bruins are at the bottom. But other than that, you look at the rest.
They got Bergeron and Krejci signed, but they haven't gotten the dollars finalized on Bergeron and Krejci yet.
I still don't see them being a productive team. You're talking 4 to 6 months before you get half your team back.
Sure.
And then you have Detroit. They took giant leaps. But what would you say, Sammy? Do you have it as East or West is a more dominant conference?
Oh, well, yeah, I kind of agree with Bernie. The East is going to be such a war, especially in the Atlantic with Detroit and Buffalo and Ottawa all improving. and, the Devils and Columbus making some moves. But the West, is going to be interesting. St. Louis is always there quietly. Dallas is always there quietly. Nashville, they were pretty good last year. They could up it, especially if they do hit Kadri. Chicago is very interesting. They made some interesting moves, some interesting signings. I still think they're going to be falling towards the bottom, but they're going to fight. If you look in the Pacific, this is one division that is going to be all over the place. I think Calgary and Edmonton are still going to be atop it, but the rest of the teams there, from LA, Vegas, Vancouver, San Jose Ducks, Kraken, it's going to be a battle for a third in that division.
Yeah, no doubt. And Coyotes are what, number one? We can't go a week without a Coyote joke. Come on.
Coyotes will be one in the AHL.
Yeah, no, well, maybe at least in the West Coast Hockey League. But so look, it's obviously brings up the question. I kind of predicated it. You guys know where I'm going with this. We said the East Coast was more dominant going into the playoffs, yet West Coast hoisted the cup. The question comes down to it is now again, there's still a lot of moves to be made before we even get going. And there's a lot of talent out there. Not a lot of money, but there's a lot of moves that can be made. Are we saying East Coast or West Coast is hoisting the cup? And then I'm going to throw it to you afterwards. Who hoists? Who do we think right now has the most dominant team based on what we see right now, 9:51 Saturday night? Who has the team on paper to hoist that cup? Sammy, you're on, because I know you don't want to.
Coyotes.
I know you don't want to answer this.
I think all playoff teams that make it are going to be over 100 points. We saw almost all of them over 100 last year. I think this year they're all going to be over. If I had to pick who's going to hoist, oh man,
Coach, how are you? Pugs, hello.
I'm going to go Colorado on the repeat.
You're going Colorado on the repeat. Okay.
Colorado.
Bernie, what are you thinking?
Well, we are going to be 2 for 2 on that, because when you still have Nathan McKinnon, Landeskog, Bowen Byram, Makar, Tays, and they're going to get Sam Girard back. So their blue line is going to be ridiculous moving the puck. Georgiev and Francouz are going to do what they need to do to keep the puck out. I think Georgiev is going to be probably back to where his pre-Igor phase, where he was lights out at times. And Francouz is going to be someone that's going to step in like he did in the Stanley Cup playoffs and be that serviceable backup /1B that Colorado needs. They just need someone to keep the puck out more than keep less than 3 pucks going back, because they're going to score 4 goals a game again.
So let me throw my hat in the ring on this one, because he was my backup. And I have to tell you right now, he carries a really piss poor attitude. And PG-13 version right now, everybody. He's a piss poor goaltender. He's got a piss poor attitude. It's also why Tony DeAngelo took a swing at him going down the runway. He's a big baby. And I'm going to tell you right now, if he gets pulled in a game, he's going to have a hard time recovering. He got carried a lot by our defense at times. And don't get me wrong, Avalanche defense is going to be phenomenal. So they're going to stop a lot in front of him, and they're going to keep a lot away from him. But if he's having an off night, he's a horrible goaltender. I could not believe that they were going to make him a starter, especially on a cup-winning team. He is not a cup-winning goaltender. I have a totally biased opinion about Georgiev. I always have. I always will. I think that if anything, you're going to wind up seeing him at some point get pulled. Frankie's going to wind up taking over the starter position, and or he gets traded for a better goaltender. Georgiev is not the answer to the Avalanche. I do believe that they're a great team. They potentially could hoist again, but I'm going to go against both of you because you guys are great hockey minds. But I'm going to throw a little zing into the mix because it's way more fun to do it like this and say, I'm going to say that the East Coast is not only more dominant, but they're not going to let the cup go again. You had the Lightning for 2 years in a row. It goes back over to the Avalanche. The Avalanche are going to, by the way, potentially make the finals. Let me say that because I think that offensive and defensive wise, they're one of the strongest teams in the league right now. Goaltending wise is where they're lacking. But I'm going to go ahead and throw a little bit of a zinger at you guys and say, I think it's East Coast. And I'm going to even go so far as to say, I think it could potentially be the dark horse surprise. I'm going to call the Maple Leafs. And that's not because Sam's sitting on screen. It's because you guys did something you don't see often. Now, the Capitals, and it's not because I have two people sitting on here that are co-hosts right now. The Capitals are dominant with what you guys made in your moves. The Maple Leafs tightened up the two areas that they needed to, in my opinion, and I think you guys are going to make a go at it. With the pickups that the other teams made, they still have to go through development. They still got to gel. They still got to get their teams together. The Maple Leafs did not make a ton of moves, and they were dominant at the end of the year. So they just simply need to move forward, and I think that organization is going to do so. And I think that there is the potential for you guys to make a third-round run. And if injuries fall the way they did this year with some of the other teams, you guys could be in the finals. And I think if you do, I think you guys have the potential. I think the Caps got screwed this year. I think the refs were atrocious. I think that you guys were literally steamrolled. I think when Wilson comes back and he's healthy with the signings that you guys made and the way that you guys are sitting with your goaltending, I think the Caps are going to be dominant. I think the Rangers are a first-round knockout, to be honest with you, unless those kids step up. But it takes a while for that development. So I don't think the Rangers are going to be as dominant this year as they were. The Penguins, in my opinion, they just don't have it. The Lightning could make another run at this, and I think they're going to. The Panthers, which we're not even talking about, the President Cup trophy team, they're gonna go deep again, but they don't have it. So you're gonna have a new system. What is it? DeBoer's down there? Maurice. So Maurice is down there. You're gonna have a new system. You're gonna have a little bit of an adjustment period. But there's two teams that made moves that filled in holes in them, and they're both sitting to my left. And that's both your teams. And I think that both of you guys have the potential to hoist the cup next year. So I'm going to say it's one of your two teams will actually hoist that cup. I don't think it's Colorado, and I think it's Georgiev's fault. That's just my opinion.
I would love to see that happen, obviously.
Sure.
We've been saying for 50 years, next season's our year. Next season's our year.
Well, you guys are overdue also.
That's true. But Toronto always finds a way of falling apart. I did, however, as we're talking, just kind of pull up here in front of me to take a look from some betting sites to see what the odds are as of today. Avalanche are favored at plus 400. Maple Leafs are second at plus 800. Lightning at 900. Panthers 1,000. And then it gets interesting. The Golden Knights at plus 1,400. No chance. The Hurricanes at 1,400. The Flames, Oilers, and Wild all at 1,800. And the Penguins at 2,000.
So the Caps don't even break the top 10.
No.
So let's do a quick breakdown. I deliberately left Carolina off the list, and it's not because they're not a good team. But they only can play one style of hockey, and if you can beat that style, you absolutely can decimate them. And I think that was exposed during the playoffs by multiple teams. It's not hard to beat them. I'm surprised that the Caps are not in that top area simply because the Caps have been dominant for a bunch of years. And I think that the right moves were made. I don't think that people are looking at the moves that were made. Bernie pointed it out earlier. $6.5 million for two goaltenders that are good goaltenders. They're going to be a good team. As I said to you before, I felt like you guys were the number 2 team with Toronto, and I'm not wrong with the way I kind of felt like you guys had moved forward. You didn't make a lot of adjustments where anything other than, hey, it's time to move forward. And I think that you guys are way overdue, and I think it's time. And I could really see you guys going far. The Lightning, Vasilevsky has been shown for the Swiss cheese goaltender in that top right over that blocker and under the blocker that he is. But other than that, he's a great goaltender. And if they can hold it, I think Tampa's going third round again. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's interesting. They have Washington pegged right around kind of the middle with Nashville, Dallas, and
That's a mistake.
New Jersey just above them or below them. Sorry.
Nah,
see, but yeah, I agree. Washington should be higher on this list.
That's an insult to the and let me just tell you right now, I hate the Capitals. And I'm not going to sit there and say like, oh yeah, Capitals, because Bernie's on screen. What I'm saying is you can't put them in that area. They're a way better team than that. You literally have the Russian robot who sits down in that office and drills them. No way. Like that's an insult to the Caps all day long. To put them somewhere, even in the to even say Devils and Capitals in the same sentence makes me want to puke.
Yeah. I will tell you, Morgan. Columbus is also at the bottom at plus 10,000, which should probably be higher. There's no way Columbus should be favored with Chicago and Montreal at plus 10,000. But guess who's the longest odds to win the Stanley Cup? I'll give you one guess.
Does it have a Wild Eve in front of it and rhyme with coyote?
It sure does. And let's just say that they're rated at plus way more people than will fit in their stadium.
50,000.
Plus 50,000, you got it.
Hey, I'm not the best color man in the league for nothing, people. So, Bernie, what do you think about your Caps being hoisted halfway down the list?
We got one bleep hit. No one's listening anyway. So
yeah.
But I would think with Backstrom and Wilson being out, that scares a lot of these Vegas know-it-alls on putting odds out. With our center position, the thing I'm worried about is Connor McMichael not getting a full opportunity to play center ice this year with either Oshie and Mantha, or to put him in a spot to succeed. I mean, you have Eller and you have Dylan Strome now to go with Kuzi and McMichael, and Dowd's going to be on the fourth line there, hovering around. But you have $16 million on LTIR to start the season between Backstrom, Wilson, and Hagelin.
Yeah, but Hagelin's only out what? Hagelin's out 2 months?
Hagelin's get another appointment in August to see where his eye is at on whether he can play ever again or if he's going to be ready for training camp. It's such a fluid situation. It all depends on how the eye is continually restructuring itself.
And doing this, having done this with Mark Stahl, and it was that fluid situation when he took that puck in the eye, it will take him, even if he came back for camp, he will not have his timing down for 2 months. But that's why I'm saying that's like a 2-month rehab injury once he's back on the ice, if he ever plays again. But, you know, when you look at Wilson's a dominant player for you guys. There's no doubt, which I have to address something in a minute, which you guys will just have to fortitude me a little latitude for that in a second. But, you know, looking at what you guys don't have starting, it's not that Wilson's not a big loss because he's big enough. But I think that you guys picked up enough pieces. You can never undersell Ovi. I can't stand him because I got to play against him, not because he's a good player. But you can't underestimate the guy. The guy puts up 5 billion points a year. He's going to step up. And you got Dylan Strome who's going to come in. He's going to be an impact player. He's a depth player. He's going to do a lot for you guys. So I kind of find it insulting. I got to ask this question because I'm dying inside a little right now. Is anybody else not only like disturbed? Why the hell? Ryan Reeves. First of all, how this man has avoided, what's up, Crew It Up? How this man has avoided being in a headline at all. How he has avoided getting bought out, cut, shot out of a cannon, retired, traded for a bag of pucks. Am I wrong, Bernie? The end of the year, he was not only non-existent, he was non-existent most of the year, but he's an enforcer, right? Like we don't expect him to score goals, even though he scored 1 or 2. But we don't expect that out of him. We expect him to enforce, and he sat out the last 2 games. He sat out the last 2 games, and he's still a Ranger. Am I wrong?
So who does he have pictures of?
Well, you bring in a Ryan Reeves. You bring in a Ryan Reeves thinking, oh, the Gerard Gallant cohesion. The thing is they played teams that exposed what Ryan Reeves can bring to the Rangers. Speed and structure. Pittsburgh is all about structure, and this might not be a popular opinion. Sidney Crosby doesn't get hurt. The Rangers don't get through that series because the Penguins were on all cylinders, even with Louis Domingue in net.
But think about it, though. It wasn't Ryan Reeves.
Was a injury.
But it wasn't Ryan Reeves. It was Trouba brought the Trouba train.
Right. But but you got exposed with Ryan Reeves being on the ice with a structured speed team in Pittsburgh, then a structured speed team in Carolina, and then the ultimate in structure with just enough speed on that third line to make Ryan Reeves pretty much a non-factor. They brought him in to be the alternate Tom Wilson. The problem is Tom Wilson is a 25 to 30 goal scorer, is an elite penalty killer, has deceptive speed for his size, and like Kevin Weeks says, he is a unicorn that 31 other teams want and Washington, D.C. has, and it just blows my mind. I go on Cap Friendly all the time, and you see all these Toronto people trying to trade Ilya Mikheyev for Wilson or Kerfoot for Wilson. And I'm like, I always go with the same reply. You're not getting the next captain of the Washington Capitals when Alex Ovechkin retires.
I don't disagree with you. My biggest thing
after then Ovi says I retired.
I don't disagree with you. What I'm trying to figure out is what Sam is. Who the hell did he blackmail? Because Gallant is expecting the Golden Knight to show up and be who he is. The problem is even when you've got that after the play scrum, he's skating away. You're having the opportunity to change the momentum. When you have a puck drop, it's not about the other guy out skating you. It's dropping the gloves and kicking his ass. And that's what he was brought in to do. He was not brought in to try and outskate the other team. I don't have a problem with him having a 25-second shift, by the way, because he sucks. What I'm saying is that the beginning of the shift or the beginning of the whistle and the end of the whistle is what he's supposed to play at. And when you get a guy who steamrolls Panarin or takes Mika Zibanejad and literally WWEs him down to the ice, Ryan Reeves is supposed to skate out there without a helmet, stick, and gloves and do his job. And what I'm trying to figure out is the man got benched the last 2 games. They realized that they have a deficiency with him. How in the world did he not only, did he go hide? Does he have pictures of somebody? Did he pay someone off? Did he give up half his salary to Gallant? Where is it that this guy's a Ranger next year and why when Max Domi was available and goes elsewhere? Max Domi would have given us a little bit of scoring ability and that grit. I don't get it.
And to further your point with Reeves is where did the Vegas Ryan Reeves go? That Gerard Gallant put him, Carrier, and I forget who the third guy on that line was, and they just went scorched earth on people, and they hit everything that moved, and that's why Vegas got to the finals in year 1, because he had a fourth line that no one wanted to play. And Ryan Reeves, now I will blame the officiating a little with Ryan Reeves's pullback because you don't know which kind of game you're getting officiated. Some of these referees are getting in and breaking up things the moment someone breathes on somebody. And then other times you got people that are, ragging it up, and they get a fight going, and then they're just trying to jump on people. You don't know how this game's being officiated anymore. And you got a guy like Ryan Reeves who, if he doesn't know how the game's being officiated, he's pretty much lost in a sea of manure, and there's no way anyone's going to send him a lifeline.
But that's where that drop of the gloves at the start of a play happens. That's where that talking back and forth, hey, you hit my guy. We're going. Do you want to do it now or do you want to do it later? And you see them talking on that line, and he skates away now. And I don't understand that. That should be the moment where you don't give the guy the opportunity. You start slashing the shit out of him, and the next thing you know, the gloves are off and you're throwing haymakers. Refs are not going to step in front of Ryan Reeves throwing punches. I wouldn't.
No.
So, Sammy, what do you think? What in this whole thing? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think part of the problem is it goes to show how this game has changed so much. And that whole role of the enforcer, you have to be more than an enforcer. You actually have to be able to play the game. And here you have Reeves, I think this upcoming season's his last with the Rangers, 1.75. if he finishes with the Rangers, they're not going to put him on unconditional waivers to buy him out because they know someone else is going to pick him up and probably do damage to the Rangers. It's one of those, you're better to have him than not at this point. But I just think the game has changed so much, and you need to be able to hit, kind of like Tom Wilson. You need to be able to hit, you need to be able to score, and you need to be able to drop the gloves. This is why, and I hate to go back to Kadri, but he was so dangerous. He was top of the league in scoring. He could hit, he could fight, he could do it all. And those are the type of enforcers we see nowadays, is guys who can play and are willing to drop the gloves.
Let me just say one thing real quick. Stevie Lee, welcome in. And I got to do something, guys, just because Stevie Lee, before we even got started, hit a super sticker. So let me throw this out for Stevie Lee. Stevie, thank you. We appreciate anybody who supports the channel. Thank you so much. Greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you, Stevie. And you're not wrong in the sense that, like everything that we're all saying is the same thing. But how the hell did he, why is nobody on the Rangers organization? I went and I Googled, I put in Ryan Reeves news. Do you know that the last article really written about him prior to the playoffs, he was a Golden Knight? What? How in the world is nobody in the hockey world going, he's still a Ranger? I can't. And by the way, $1.75 million, we can't get this guy to restructure. He sucks. You can't get him down to a league minimum deal? I can't figure it out.
It'll be really interesting to see when this season is done where he resigns and for what.
It's an old age home. I already know. Okay,
for Joe Thornton going to get together.
Well, it's definitely he's going to prison for stealing from the Rangers. I mean, there's no way that anybody can convince me that this guy did not sign his contract. There's an article that says he's comfortable playing less minutes and in his new role. Of course you are. You got $4 million to do nothing. You don't even have to drop the gloves anymore. You're not icing your hands every night. Of course you're comfortable in your role, you pile. I'm so pissed at him. I can't even begin to tell you. He's no longer pillow hands. I got to come up with a new name for him.
Yeah. We've talked about Johnny Gaudreau. We talked about Nazem Kadri. We haven't talked about the biggest free agent who's out there who hasn't signed yet. Jaromir Jagr. Did you see the post?
My jersey sitting right there.
Did you see the post? Here was Jagr's message to
NHL
GMs.
Beautiful.
NHL GMs. I am also a free agent once again. 6'3", 265 pounds, 50 years old. Slow but strong and good hands. Can bring experience and like to play only home games. Call me anytime. Also, as the owner of Hockey Club in Czech, I am looking to sign a defenseman. No jokes.
So now let me be the first person to address this. I also heard this, but did you hear who actually is interested?
No.
Do you know who's interested?
Seattle.
The Coyotes.
Arizona. Arizona.
I just couldn't help it. The Coyotes called and said, yeah, you don't have to go on the road. It's okay. We only have 5,000 people sitting in the stadiums anyway.
Yeah, not only here the keys.
Oh, Jagr wants to change people fourth for a little bit of next year.
I mean, when I read that, I sat there and I'm like, man, I don't wear that my Jaromir jersey as long as he's in the NHL because I consider it to be a jinx. But as long as he's overseas, I don't care. I'll wear it. But if he comes back into the league, could you imagine a 50-year-old Jagr playing only home games? Could you? The only team that would agree to that would be the Coyotes.
Just to put butts in seats.
I think the only thing that was better out there was the Calgary weatherman that said he'd be back to do the midday forecast on a TV station in Columbus to pay him a little less to do the drive time.
Yeah, and I mean, basically the other thing that I heard was Mike Milbury said he was still available to play for Boston if they needed him. So, but I mean, that's the point though. But Jagr's still lacing him up 80 million times a year. He's still scoring. I don't know if you saw last year's season when they showed his highlights. he can skate. He's a little slower, but it's kind of like, when Lawrence Taylor started to slow down at the end of his run with the Giants. I used to sit there and say that a hurt, slow LT is still better than half the players out there. I wonder if the same is true for a 50-year-old Yager. The guy's got 40 years of experience. He's got double what the new draft picks in age. Like, these kids are 20 years old. He's been playing twice as long as they've been alive.
For a team that's not drawing, he's worth the marketing investment.
Right? Like, if I'm Coyotes, I actually might take a look at it and go, you want to play 40 games at home? Okay. You know what you're getting.
Especially since I think they only play like 2 home games the first 20-some until the 5,000-seat bandbox is completely ready to go. So Yager can sign in November, play his 41 home games, and he only will miss 20. He do one of the road trips, and he'll play 60 games this year.
And that's the thing is,
worry about playoffs.
Could you freaking imagine if Jaromir Jagr, 50 years old, comes back in? At that point, if I'm Wayne Gretzky, I sit there and go, I could probably pull out a season. Am I allowed to stay at home and not go on the road if there's a team stupid enough to let me do it? Okay.
I want to play Saturday nights at home.
Could you imagine signing Wayne Gretzky to put asses in seats and sit there and say he's only going to play 2 nights a week at home? Okay. Like,
he only needs 6 goals to get to 900.
There you go.
Drop a line of Gretzky, Yager, and Messier.
I'll take it. Let me tell you something. I'll wipe out my third line and give it to them. Like, in a heartbeat, I would. But while we're at it, let's talk about bringing Lindros back. But, it's like, you get to a place where you start to go, could you imagine if this guy actually came back into the league? I mean, he's one of the only ones who are still in hockey shape. He's playing still, like, every game. I don't know. But you got to love the fact.
Online too.
But you got to love the fact that he's pumping his own team as an owner. He's like, oh, by the way, I am looking for a defenseman. So Tony D'Angelo.
Michael Kempny's available.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, Tony D'Angelo, there's a league for you. But it's kind of crazy that we're even having that discussion that he would put it out there. But you never know. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's out of the league of impossibilities. I mean, Arizona sucks. It's definitely possible.
Wouldn't that be the ultimate slap in the face? Arizona reaches out to Yager and says, hey, here's $1 million, come hang out, you'll play whatever you want. And Yager says, no, I'm good.
You got to make me a coach and pay me $5 million. I'll be a player coach on the ice. I'll be an assistant coach when we're from like the box. I'll call in stuff. I don't know. I mean, the guy's got management experience, ownership experience, player experience, captain experience. He's an all-around hockey player. I mean, there are stranger things in this world that have happened. I'd hate to see Tom Wilson hit him because he would hit him into next year. Yeah, you'd have to almost have an
you'll see someone from the Arizona State. Yeah, you'll see someone from the Arizona State drama department dressed as Willy Wonka, and Jaromir Jagr's home debut. The guy will come out as Willy Wonka. Welcome to the world of imagination, and then Jagr comes out and saying, "Hey, is there any chocolate around here?"
Oh, geez. The funny part about it is, if he goes there, I'll give him Ryan Reeves for free. I'll even pay his salary just to watch this happen because you would have to have pillow hands just keeping a track of him so that nobody absolutely broke his hip or something. But I mean, all due respect, it would be really funny to watch Jaromir Jagr to come back to the NHL. I couldn't wear my jersey again, which that's nothing new. But I mean,
I hope he does. Whenever he officially retires, whenever he actually is going to call it quits, I'd love to see him come back, just step on the ice, touch the puck, get off the ice, and then announce his official retirement. I think that would be amazing.
What team do you think he retires with?
Pittsburgh.
Think so?
No, I have no idea. He's played almost every team.
I was going to say, played for half the teams in the NHL. Yeah. He was captain of the Rangers, for crying out loud. And although he'll never retire as a Ranger because he hates the organization and he hates the fan base.
I think going out as a Penguin where it all started and he had such a bond with Lemieux, I don't know what the relationship is to this day, but I think that would be a nice place for him to go out.
Bernie started singing about Willy Wonka and his camera went. But you know, I think we pretty much have covered everybody. Let's get Bernie back in. I think there he is.
Yep.
So is there anybody like, because I mean, obviously, look, we could talk free agency from now until Monday. I think we didn't really miss too much. I mean, there was obviously a lot more that went on, and there's going to be more for us to talk about. You know, next Saturday, we want to make sure we have that ability. Is there anybody major league wise? Because I was skipping around and my notes are all over the place. Did I miss anybody like huge signings?
The only big one that jumps out, and we talked about Detroit a little bit, and they sent Cobb, but they went out, they got Mata, they got Ben Sherratt, which is huge. They got Dominic Kubulik.
Yeah, that's right. We did kind of skip over Detroit because I had a joke here that says, "What's the matter with you?" But you know, sorry, I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah, Kubulik, Perron, and Mark Syke, man. And you put them with Sider and Raymond and Larkin and the other kind of core they have. Detroit's going to be an interesting team to watch this year.
Well, anytime you have Yzerman, Yizing, if you have Yzerman that's Yizing, it's always going to be interesting. Everywhere he touches, and by the way, he's home. So he wants to build the Red Wings back up. So I expect this team to go through the full rebuild. I don't think he's going to shortcut in any capacity. I think he's going to do something incredible with the Detroit Red Wings. I think he's going to bring hockey heritage back to Hockeytown. And I think this is another step in that right direction to say, by the way, I'm Stevie Yzerman. Remember me? And I think that's what he's doing. And I think, as to Bernie's point earlier, the entire Eastern Conference is stronger than it was when it ended. And Stevie Yzerman did what Stevie Yzerman did with Tampa. He's doing it again in Detroit. He's going to be the next Scotty Bowman, and the fact of I can do anything, just watch. And I think you're going to see that. So, Bernie,
when is Brendan Shanahan going to be the next Steve Yzerman?
Bernie, what do you think?
Well, it started with getting Ville Husso right before the draft to pair with Nedeljkovic as their 1-2 in net. I mean, they went from the net out. I mean, getting David Perron and Dominic Kubelik to add to that forward depth. I like Mason Marchment signing in Dallas to eventually replace Radulov, who's going back to the KHL. So that's a really under-the-radar signing. Carolina, to be able to get Pacioretty and Dylan Coghlan, who was a point-a-game guy in Henderson in the AHL, for practically a bag of pucks, and to actually improve on D'Angelo by bringing in Chewbacca, Brent Burns from San Jose. That team's loaded for bear, and they have a sniper in Pacioretty. They finally have a guy who has scored 40 goals in this league. You pair that up with a guy on the blue line who scored 25 goals in this league in Brent Burns. They've gone from Hamilton to D'Angelo to Burns. Every time they need to get rid of a right-handed defenseman, they almost bring in a better right-handed defenseman.
I agree with that. And how in the world that they pulled off Pacioretty over everybody else with what was going on? You got me on that one. I'm not, like there were so many teams that could have pulled off that, but you know what? And I said to you earlier, I dismissed the Hurricanes a little bit. I probably shouldn't, but their system is what I have an issue with. It's not the team. And I don't think I specified that earlier. I think they're going to be a great team this year. So let's do this because Sammy's been Canadian about this all night. He's been just sitting over there. Sam, I normally give you a few minutes to just go off. So you've got the Sam's Corner. Kick it in, news, highlights, things like this that are all things Sam Welb 12 experience.
Oh wow! So the biggest thing, the fun thing, let's take free agency aside. We started going down this bizarre trail with the Flyers kind of prospect goalie and the troubles he was running into in Russia. And then we kind of switched it over to the story with Kaprizov, and Kaprizov got mixed up. And we didn't have a lot of details when it first came out a couple weeks ago. We still don't have a lot of details, but a little bit more clarity on the situation. So initially we thought his name was just tied to false IDs being sold to get out of the military duty in Russia. But it turns out he actually purchased a fraudulent military ID, or it's claimed he purchased a fraudulent ID to get out of his service. He tried to come back to the U.S. recently to kind of escape all of this, and he got denied. I think it was 3 times he got turned away from re-entry into the U.S. So we don't know exactly what's going on with Kaprizov. We don't know where he is, and we don't know when he's going to be returning. So a very interesting story with all of these players coming into Russia as to what's going on with their military service.
You never cease to amaze me. I just want you to know that. I've been following this story, but I cannot find near the detail you just came up with. Nowhere in the realm, and I've read everything I can about this, but my goodness, it's almost like you're the reporter on the ground in Russia. That was every week for the last 3 weeks, you have nailed me with these 3 stories, and I'm like, wait, what? I mean, it's utterly amazing what keeps coming out of there. So keep your hey Sammy, keep your eye to the ground, keep your ear to the grindstone, and let us know what's going on in Russia. But
yeah,
it's crazy.
The other big story that's really interesting, we talk about Gaudreau leaving Calgary. What's going to happen with Matthew Tkachuk? They obviously have some coin now. Does he stay a Flame, or is he going to be on his way out?
To be honest with you, I would love to see us trade Ryan Reeves for Tkachuk. Is there anything I can do to get rid of Ryan Reeves and pick up somebody that has some grit and can shoot the puck? I mean, and by the way, I don't care if they even know what a puck is. How about that? I just want somebody who's got some grit that can hit and skate.
Well, we saw the Stahl brothers sign to play together. Could Matthew be on his way to Ottawa as well?
It's actually rumored that there's a possibility he may wind up with his brother. And you and I were kind of joking around about, with the Stahls going down there. And I said, the Rangers tried that too. They don't play well together. I think when they were playing pond hockey in the backyard, growing up, there was probably a little sibling rivalry. And, keep in mind, do you know who caused the first concussion for Mark? Eric. Okay. So he hit his brother so hard, he knocked him out of the league for about 14 weeks. So, there's something to be said about it when you try to hit your brother as hard as you can in the head.
I think the Primus had the same issue. Wayne and Keith Primu, they had their fight, and right after the game, they had to call their parents and apologize.
That's the thing is, it's like, these kids who play together, there's a natural, there's a kinsman, obviously your family, and you can play well and you know where that person's going to be, but it's also fun to play against them because you get to hit them. And it's like, oh, remember when you took my Matchbox car? Boom! And, which I'm good with all those things. It's going to be interesting to see the Stahls in Florida. First of all, they're Canadians, and they're going to just find out what Miami Heat is really all about. They better have bought stock in Coppertone and in sunblock because they are redhead, white-skinned. I mean, did you ever see the Stahls? It's incredible. He went out during the I'll never forget it. They were out doing, I think it was the Tampa playoffs. Mark Stahl came in for an interview. His whole body was bright red. I felt so bad for him. I was like, you match your hair. It was so bad. But
that's
anyway,
amazing. But if that ends up happening, if he goes, because Ottawa still has money to spend.
Yeah.
So can you imagine if they have both Tkachuks, Norris, Giroux, DeBrincat, Strutzel? Man, that team would be on fire.
And that's the thing is I think Bernie, you said it was what, $9 million they still have?
I know Nashville had $9 million. I think Ottawa's in that ballpark.
I think they're
11,
in that ballpark too. I think they're in that $9 million range. So they could potentially bring him in, on a $5-6 million deal, still hold something, get rid of something, dump some cap, probably still hold $4 to $5 million around trade deadline. And they're going to be a team to contend with. I mean, pretty quickly. The last thing that I would ask both of you guys before we try to wrap this up, we really did not talk about the team that we've made fun of a lot. And yes, I know we make fun of Coyotes all the time, but we really picked on the Canadiens this year. What do you guys think of how they did trade and how they've done since free agency? This is a team that I think has stouted up a little bit, and I think that, talk to me about, and I'm going to give you guys each, a little bit of time to talk about it, but management, coaching, and player adjustment. Let's start with Bernie. What do you think about how management is done, what the coaching staff is looking like, and how the players are now stacked up?
Well, Montreal hit a grand slam with the first live draft in 3 years. The whole production and everything was world class, as only Montreal would do. Kent Hughes has brought stability. Jeff Gordon has brought stability to that organization. Martin St. Louis has unlocked Cole Caulfield. Cole Caulfield's going to go back to being what he was in the playoffs 2 years ago next year. And it was funny, we were joking about it during the draft where, they got a new first line. And then 30 minutes later, they got another new first line. And then 30 minutes later, they got another new first line. We'll figure out their first line at the end of the draft. The heck with trying to figure that out. But to get a 21-year-old like Kirby Dach to throw into that mix of forwards, to get Cole Caulfield re-energized and rejuvenated, you still got Nick Suzuki. I know I'm missing a couple guys, but pretty much they revamped themselves and shrewdly maneuvered to get picks and players to revamp that fan base. Because when Montreal's fan base is rocking and rolling, there's nowhere better to play when you have 21,000, especially on a hockey night in Canada on a Saturday night. And of course, the press loves going there because of the world famous press hot dogs. But
so you're giving them an A+.
But Montreal, I'm giving them a solid B+ right now. I mean, They still have a long way to go. I mean,
okay.
It all hinges on Carey Price's health. If Carey Price is healthy, that team can be like a thorn in the side, maybe just on the outside of the playoffs looking in, but not going to be an easy night to play in Montreal. If Carey Price isn't healthy, then it might be another year or two before.
So, Sammy, we've gone American French and French. So tell me from a Canadian aspect, Montreal Canadiens, they stacked up. They went all in. They shut me and you up in a heartbeat, so much that I'm even saluting them Canadian American style. Give me your pick or your outtake on it, because you and I picked on them all year.
Yeah. Hey, first team in NHL history to finish in 32nd spot. But man, do I hate to speak highly of Montreal. It's so hard to do, but they've just done so much right. Slafkovsky's going to be great. And I'm looking forward to October 12th, Toronto, Montreal, first regular season game for us. We're going to see what both teams are made of. Yeah, Kirby Dach coming over, Caulfield, Slafkovsky, Evans, Byron, Hoffman, Dandenov, Anderson, Suzuki, Gallagher's still there. Man, what a batch. And of course, bringing over Matheson. Matheson's going to be good. Weidman, he's going to be solid. And Bernie said it right. It all depends on what Carey Price is going to be there. You have Jake Allen. Jake Allen's going to do his role. But if Carey Price can't be the Carey Price of old, they're going to be in trouble. And it wouldn't surprise me if they see Carey Price is struggling, they find some way to pull out a miracle and bring some other goaltender in.
I happen to agree with that too. I think that with the rebuild and with what they're doing, one of the things I picked on them about was salary cap, and they seemed to maneuver through it like it wasn't even an issue. So I'm really impressed with what they did, especially like you said, first team in NHL history finished 32nd. And I got to be honest with you, I don't think they're playoff contenders per se. They might pull a wild card out of their hat. I'm not saying it's not a possibility. We're all agreeing that Carey Price is probably the unknown. And when you have an unknown in net, it's kind of like what we were talking about with Toronto and a couple of the other teams. There's going to be who's going to be looking at trade deadlines? Who's going to sit there like the Rangers now have 2 deep? Could we trade a Domingue for a draft pick? Domingue proved to be more than just spicy pork. He was pretty good. And you got a Bennington, and you have other people out there who are going to be looking to try and make that move up. So you never know what's going to happen in this league. I think we learned that this year more so than probably any other year. It's not that, we're not all hockey people and we're educated as to what's going on in the game. But this year there were a lot of surprises. I mean, Bernie, I think, put it best when he said all of the bottom teams that, were in the Eastern, with very, very few exceptions, stouted up. And even the ones that are still at the bottom, they made improvements. They couldn't, you're not going to rebuild your team in 1 year, but the teams that just missed the cusp, they improved. So I think there's a lot to be said with how the NHL is adjusting. And then last but not least, the last thing that I want to hit on with you guys, because we really complained about this a lot. Do you think there's going to be any adjustment from the league with the refs? Are we going to see any adjustment, anything with new reffing rules? Are you guys hearing anything about the league looking at this? Because I don't hear anything about an adjustment in the way the game is called or the fact that there's an inconsistency. Are you hearing anything at all, Sam?
I haven't heard anything, and that really bothers me.
Yeah.
I got to believe it's happening behind closed doors. They obviously don't want to come out and publicly shame their officials and whatnot, because then it's just going to get worse. So they have to be having the conversation. I really hope it does improve for next year, because we're losing a lot of veteran officials. It's a lot of young kids coming up they're not really kids, but younger referees coming up, and they just haven't found their footing. So let's hope we don't see as poor officiating next year as we did this year.
Bernie, refs. What do you think is going to come up this year?
God.
Are we gonna have a repeat of 2 years ago and this year? Do you think they're going to make the adjustments behind closed doors? Do you think we're going to finally get past some of this, or is it more of the same?
God, I hope so. Usually you hear a lot of stuff around the Board of Governors meetings, which usually happens prior to the draft, I guess, with everything being 4th of July and the draft and the cup and everything being all jammed right and bang, 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 and then free agency. I guess they wanted everything to go off like that swimmingly. I have a feeling they're going to get together in late July, early August, start hammering some stuff over. Maybe a bunch of the owners and GMs get together at the World Juniors or sometime thereafter. They have to figure something out, because the inconsistency where one game you can go in and every little nitpicky thing is called the next minute, it's prison rules. It's not good. It's not good for the game. Good for 32 fan bases, and you probably have heart murmurs that we don't to the patient first the next day to check that out, because we know we have to have full 10 hours of sleep to even calm down from some of these debacles that we see between our 2 ears, 2 eyes, nose, and mouth. And our mouth is usually the one that's running the most. But
yeah,
they need to figure it out. The stick stuff, I mean, I'd rather the linesmen let guys fight and get it out of their system, and let's get the hockey, and no more instigators, trapezoids, stop overthinking this game, no second altercation, game misconduct. Let's get hockey going. You got the speed element, you got the goals up. That part is on a rocket ship, and it's going to only get better, especially now with TNT. I couldn't believe I'm going to say this, but TNT, I'm looking forward to TNT's coverage of the Stanley Cup Finals this year, because ESPN did really well at times, but at other times I'm a little disappointed in the lack of shows during the week, during the day, during the off season. It's like they got the NBA and the NFL crammed up their Djibouti more often than not, and that's not good, because you've paid 7 full years to get the NHL back to ESPN and ABC. Show a little interest. I mean, put free agency, instead of all cramming everything on ESPN Plus and making everyone pay $6.99 a month for it. Throw stuff on ESPN once a week or twice a week during the off season, because truth be told, the only one of the 4 major sports that you can actually figure out what kind of cap space your team really does have is in the NHL. And hopefully after this coming season, we'll get that bump in the salary cap where a lot of teams will actually be able to really make some magic happen.
Hopefully, and most people don't know this with what you just said. It's super important to make sure that fans that are watching know the salary cap is attached to how much money the NHL generates in revenue. So that's why we were always talking about it during the playoffs, about games going longer, about seeing more increase in ad revenue, AIS, which is ass and seats, more games, more money, more everything. That will bump up our salary caps, which only went up $1 million this year. So we need to see that increase, and you're 100% right on that. When it comes down to the refs, my final word on that would be, and I don't mean final for all of us, I just mean mine. I probably shouldn't have said that. That was stupid. But you know what? My opinion in it is, you're completely correct that there's also a biasm that it almost looks like when certain reffing groups play against certain teams, they call a disproportionate game. And that stuff's got to stop, because there's nobody that's going to tell me that there weren't certain reffing crews during the playoffs that were absolutely in other teams' corners. And it was totally prevalent. You were calling it out in the middle of our streams while we were doing it. You're like, well, this is so-and-so from this game and from that game. And, oh, by the way, you know, they haven't lost with this officiating crew. Well, I hate to say this, but since the NHL started allowing live betting, that's not good. That's like Pete Rose 2.0. Like, we've got to walk away and walk back from some of this and let the game be what the game is. I also agree with the fact that let fighting go. You're not getting rid of it in the game. The only time they ever tried to do this, they almost lost hockey completely. And then in last news, when you were talking about ESPN being $6.99 a month for the Plus, Disney has announced that they are going to actually double how much ESPN costs in the Disney Hulu ESPN package. So you're going to see that as an increase. Why? Because they did lose NHL hockey package, where you had to buy the package at $139 a year. So they're trying to make sure that they make up for it now. So you're going to see a lot more of that, I think, with the ESPN package moving forward. They're going to make their money. There's no doubt. When I first turned on the TV and I said, what do you mean I don't have to buy a hockey package this year? That was cool. There was no doubt it was pretty awesome. And the fact that I can tie it in with my Disney Plus isn't bad. So let's do this. Let's give you guys some final thoughts. Let's start with Bernie. Final thoughts on what we're seeing in free agency. What do you think you're going to see this week with what's left? And go.
Unadulterated madness.
Love it.
Pretty much. And one more thing on the referees.
Yeah.
Can we crack down on fights after clean hits? If there's a clean hit and someone starts a fight, they should be kicked out of the game. I want that stuff out of the game. If you want to go after someone for a dirty hit, I'm fine with that. But the clean hits have got to be rewarded. If you want to go after someone, hit someone yourself, please.
Here's the only thing that I could say to that, because then I want to give you your final thoughts on it.
Right.
The only thing I'll say to you is this. I love fighting in the game. If you want to drop the gloves over the fact that the guy called you a bad name, or he shot a puck at you and you didn't like it, I'm in favor. What I would love to see, and I don't have a problem with it. Where my issue comes into that clean hit is, personally, I believe it's the person who's received the hit. It's their fault. Hockey Juniors teaches you, and I don't know if you played or not. I know Sam did. I know that I did. But there's one rule you always learn. So there's one rule that they teach you the first day you put on double-bladed skates. Head up. If you've got the puck, if you're looking for the puck, you can't have your head down. Mystery Alaska shows it when Tree hits him right in front. He goes, "Coach, head down." His head was down. When your head's down on the ice, bad things happen. And it's your fault. Now, if your team wants to stand up and come to your rescue, that's the only time where I think third man in comes in. And, that instigator penalty, I think, is stupid. But if you're going to go over and you're going to consciously start a fight with a guy who just threw that hit, I think you do throw in a double minor on top of it or something. Try to ease up how much of it happens. I'm still in favor of the fight. Don't get me wrong. But throw a double minor at him for 2 minutes for instigating, 2 minutes for roughing, 5 for fighting. Get him off the ice for 9 minutes. Maybe it'll make him think twice about doing it. But if you think it's a blatant enough hit, we get the observation to see it from 30,000 feet. They're seeing it out of the corner of their eye, and their guys laying on the ice, and they go to defend them. I don't have a problem with that. You don't know if it was clean. You didn't see it. We're watching it on TV. We get to watch it in slow motion. I get to put it to a video to Here Comes the Boom, but they're not seeing it that way. So I don't have a problem standing up for your mate. I don't have a problem with going over and dropping the gloves, but I think that someone on the ice saw it. If the ref's not throwing his hand up, it's not a penalty. If the ref threw his hand up and you decide you want to go get in the mix on it, go do it. I don't have a problem with it, but I think you should throw a double minor at it. Anyway, go ahead.
Here's first of all, my friends TJ Oshie and Mark Messier. But pretty much what you said. I mean, I'm loving what the Caps did with everything that they put together in free agency, and they have 6.3. They're 6.3 million over the cap, which is pretty much going to be nullified with Backstrom's long-term injury reserve. So you're looking with that. I'm looking at also the picks that they made, Miron Shinenko and Chesley and the two Swedish kids. They really stocked up in draft. Even the 6th round pick, you put 30 pounds on them, we got another Tom Wilson in the fold in the 6th round. So I love what the Caps did. Overall, league-wise, it'll be interesting to see where John Klingberg ends up, where Kadri ends up, and where if Patrick Kane starts formally asking to be moved. And I think at the trade deadline, he is going to make a team a huge contender. And I will say this, if the Rangers get involved, that 1.75 we joke about is going to Chicago as part of the salary balancing to make sure that they can fit Patrick Kane in their salary cap at the end of the year if he goes.
So, Sammy, last thoughts on the night as to how free agency went. What do you think? Where do you think we wind up? Go.
I loved it. I thought this was the best 2 weeks of the last 3 or 4 years. The draft was exciting. We saw with the number 1 pick totally threw us in a tilt-a-whirl. The way these signings came fast and furious, moves, some predicted, some not. It was so exciting. As Dallas said earlier, we're 88 days away. Only 88 days. And I can't wait for this to get going. I can't wait to see if all these things that we talked about are accurate or if we were way so far off thinking teams that should have improved. So all in all, extremely pleased with the draft, extremely pleased with free agency. It's going to be interesting, as Bernie said, where some of these guys, Kadri and Klingberg and some others go. So we'll have to wait and see, but I can't wait. I'm counting down to the fall.
You know, it's funny. That's twice you've taken my 88-day joke away from me. The first time you got it, literally you took my Back to the Future joke. The second time, you just wiped out my feet. I was about to say in 88 days, you're about to see some serious, and then I was going to stop. I can't even make that joke anymore, and I just tried to, and it's still not there. But, yeah, it has been amazing to watch. It's been nice to see hockey back. We're 88 days away from the start of the season. That doesn't mean that we don't have juniors in August, which is going to be huge for you and your channel. I'll be doing Traverse City. As soon as, I mean, the best part is we're back at camp already. So, you know, you're seeing the kids in camp. I'm loving watching that already. It's like hockey didn't stop for us. This is amazing. So it's a lot of fun to watch what's happening and how it's going down. But 2 weeks have been fantastic. All of a sudden the cup ended. We went right into the draft. We went right into free agency. We didn't watch a game this week, but doesn't it feel like we did?
It sure does. And I don't know if you saw, and I didn't think of it till just now. Apparently in the Chicago development camp, there was a little rumble in the jungle going on the ice.
No,
so
I
we'll
didn't see
have
it.
to see if we can find some stories on that for next week.
Most definitely. And obviously, guys, keep your ears to the ground as to what's going on. Bernie, I know that you're paying attention to the NHL almost as if you have ownership in it. So, you know, we'll definitely be keeping an ear with you as to what's going on. Sam is going to keep his ear in Russia as to who's got a fake passport, who's trying to hide in a cannon to try and get out of the country. And then for me, I'm just going to keep cracking jokes and keeping us going where we're going. But, you know, guys, I really appreciate you guys coming in. I mean, we did almost a 2-hour show tonight talking about hockey because there was that much. And to be honest, we probably could go another hour and a half. I mean, there's so much that we didn't even really gloss over. We pretty much ignored the Western Conference. We kind of touched on it. It was kind of like, okay, and we're done. next week we'll talk a little bit more about it. We should start seeing free agency kind of wrap up-ish, sort of. We should be kind of knowing where we're going, how we're looking going into camps, some unknowns, but we should really have a good idea at that point. So last but not least, I'm going to give you guys the last 30 seconds, then we'll wrap up and get out of here. Bernie, anything you want to leave everybody with?
Well, it was a pleasure to be a humongous surprise. I won't be here next week because I have a wrestling show that is our WrestleMania here in Maryland, so I won't be here next week. So probably 2 weeks I'll pop back in. I have a feeling you're going to see 2 blockbuster trades coming soon because there's teams with cap space and teams still struggling to find cap space to maybe make that one more free agency. I say watch for St. Louis, wait for the Islanders, watch Colorado, watch Calgary, and even watch those little guys up in Seattle with the Kraken. They picked up Schultz and Burakovsky, and I think they're looking for another defenseman to put with that crew.
Fantastic. Sammy, how do you want to leave us?
Coming up, we got, World Juniors, like you said, about August 11th or so. We're going to be doing Canada's Journey Live. More hockey to come in the fall. And next week, make sure you have your notification bells set because, surprise, the return of Let's Go Retro is going to be coming back. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh. So, Care, we are actually broadcasting on 2 different channels at the same time. We are broadcasting on the FPE network and on Sam Welby 12 Experience as well. We are partner channels. We do this show together, so we broadcast in 2 different locations. If you're tuning in and you want to see more of what we do, come on over to the FPE network. If somebody can drop in a link to both of our channels so that this way folks can see it, they can head on over and subscribe to the FPE network. Or if you're in my chat and you want to jump over to Sam, you guys know how to find them. It's easy. Let me throw up a little bit of some things so that we can say who we know and who we're friends with and what we do. That's him right there, everybody. That's the Sam Welby 12 Experience. We're going to play him on the way out. Don't you fret. And of course, obviously, we have Bernie sitting in the middle. Never forget that we're also partner channels with Pete McDevitt, who's down here right now in Disney, making Disney content, seeing everybody. We ran into him a couple of times. Hopefully we'll see him again on Monday. But get over there for all things sports, Disney, and otherwise. Proud to be a partner channel with Pete McDevitt, also with Sam Welby 12. And if you're into Disney content, we're also partner channels with Ear to Ear Magic. So we want to say thank you guys for all that. And obviously, this is our first channel, which is the Florida Park Explorers. My wife, my daughter, myself, we go into the Disney parks literally almost every day. You guys have been great supporters, and we really, really, truly appreciate everything. Did we lose him already? Did he bounce out again? Bernie, where'd you go? So Bernie's in the great unknown at the moment. But for everybody, we really appreciate you guys coming in tonight, supporting Even Strength as we grow. And with that, I would say this has been an amazing night to talk hockey, to have some fun. Sam, we always try and keep it interesting, don't we?
Absolutely. And I said it in my little ad, but we're only just getting started.
It's funny you should say that because we're about to play that. This has been sponsored tonight by Cloud9 Getaways. Chris, it will take you on Disney, cruising, sports, does not matter what it is. If you are looking for an experience with their travel agent, please make sure you contact Cloud9 Getaways. Let them know FPE or Sam Welby 12 has sent you over there. We're going to be, for those of you who are still sitting here hanging out with us, we have some really cool sports giveaways that we're going to be doing. So make sure that you're subscribed because it's going to be a requirement anyway to be subscribed to both of our channels. We have a trip to Vegas coming up that we're going to be giving away. We have some other things potentially. We just gave away a cruise literally last night over on the Florida Park Explorers. We gave away a cruise, hotel, and airfare for our 3,000 subscriber giveaway. So we do things like this all the time. We are absolutely insane. We are just crazy. And Bernie's back in the chat. So, basically, guys, it's really simple. Support us. We're going to give you guys a lot of cool stuff. We're going to have a lot of fun. Sam and I were talking about Fantasy League and some other things that are going to be coming up. So we have tons of really great things. But until next Saturday, what do you got going on this week?
This week will just be that return of our Let's Go Retro talk show.
Nice.
And that's kind of the big surprise. Other than that, there's some things in the hop, but again, you'll have to wait and see.
Don't tell them.
Top secret. I will just say it has nothing to do with Russia.
Okay, and with that, the American beret to the French beret. I am the BearShark. He is the natural. We together are even strength. And with that, everybody, we want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you next Saturday together. Individually, you can check us out on Florida Park Explorers, the FPE Network, and the Samuel B12 Experience. Take care, everybody. Have a tremendous week. Let's go hockey.
We are the Florida Park Explorers.
We explore the parks 5 to 6 days a week with great live streams and vlogs. We cover everything from rides and food to magic and fun and fireworks. So come join us on our adventures as we take you through
the Disney parks and more.
And check out our all-new channel, the FPE Network. And thanks for watching.